Hi everyone and welcome to my kitchen and to day 7 of Vlogmas. Today we're going to bake some cookies because, you know, it's just not the holidays until you're in the kitchen and baking. At least not in this house, it's not. Told you, I think it was yesterday, I have been craving chocolate chip cookies. Those aren't really Christmassy, but I'm still going to make them anyways. But I did find another recipe for another type of cookie that I'm also going to make. First time trying it, so we hope that it works out. Then I'm going to make some of my pumpkin bread. So come along and bake with me. Okay, I have never recorded myself baking cookies before, so you're just going to have to bear with me. I hope that this turns out. These are the first cookies that I downloaded from the internet. It is from Something Swanky. I will link that below. These are red velvet cream cheese thumbprint cookies. I have almost everything. The one thing that I don't have is you need 4 teaspoons of red food coloring. I'm going to assume that's liquid food coloring, and I don't have liquid food coloring. I have paste. It's a paste food coloring. We'll just try to substitute and see if that works. I really like red velvet. Preheat oven to 300 degrees. Beat together the butter, brown sugar, egg yolk, and vanilla until light and fluffy. Mix in the flour, food coloring, and cocoa powder until soft dough forms. So I needed 1 cup of butter. And you can see we are Sam's Club members. Half a cup of brown sugar. And it is packed, so you want to... I'm one of those cooks or bakers that just... I'm not very precise when it comes to measuring things, so you'll have to bear with me. And egg yolk and vanilla. So I need 1 egg yolk. There goes one egg yolk. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. There, just a little bit. There we go. The next step is to add the flour, food coloring, and cocoa powder. Now it doesn't say to do this, but I was always taught to sift my flour before I put it into any. 2 cups of flour. 2 cups of flour and 2 teaspoons of cocoa. And this is why I was taught to always sift, is because you got these big chunks of cocoa in there now. Let me get you don't want those big chunks of cocoa, unsweetened cocoa in your cookies. Or at least I was taught that I never did. Okay, and then it says the food coloring. Like I said, this is a paste, so when you open it up, it's just a paste. So I'm going to just start with adding 1/8 of a teaspoon of the paste. And I'm just going to add that. And I'm just going to add this 1/8 of a teaspoon of that paste before I add the flour and the cocoa. So let's mix that in. See what happens. To me, that's pretty pink. I did rinse out my 1/4 cup. So let's add just a little bit more. I have a horrible shadow there. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's add the cocoa and the flour. Okay, I've added the cocoa and the flour, so let's mix that up. I think that turned out pretty red. Okay, now it's already time to roll it out. It says to scoop out dough by heaping teaspoons and roll them in sugar before placing them on prepared baking sheet, about 2 inches apart. So let me go grab that baking sheet and we'll make the cookies. Okay, so it said you by heaping teaspoon, roll into a ball, and then put it in the sugar. So here's a heaping teaspoon, a little bit bigger than that maybe. With the back of a spoon to make a small indentation. I have a Mickey Mouse spoon, so let's see if that'll work. That, of course, works. And there they are, ready to go into the oven. The recipe says, well, the cookies are in the oven for the first 10 minutes to start the cream cheese. So you need to put them all in a mixer. I've cleaned out my mixing bowl. You need 4 ounces of cream cheese, which is half a block. Take care of that in a minute. 1 egg yolk. And 1/4 cup of sugar. And it says just to beat together until smooth. It says when the cookies have baked for 10 minutes, then you're supposed to put the teaspoon in and deepen the to deepen the indentation. Oh, so I did make a small indentation. When they're done baking for 10 minutes, make the indentation larger and spoon a teaspoon of the filling mix into each indentation. Bake for an additional 12 minutes until the filling is set. Okay, so now we just have to wait for the cookies to come out. And here are the cookies nice and hot out of the oven after 10 minutes. So let's just make this indentation a little bit deeper, I guess. Now I want to add a teaspoon of the mixture. These go back in the oven for 12 minutes. And here is what they look like right out of the oven. We're just going to give them a little bit to cool, and then we'll give them a taste test. Next, we're going to bake my chocolate chunk pumpkin bread. And you can see this recipe comes from Kraft Food. I have had this recipe forever. I don't remember where I first got it, but here we go. It makes 1 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. I don't do that anymore. I found these mini loaf pans, so it's more individualized, and my family seems to like this a lot better, so this is what I actually bake it in. And let's see what it says to do first. Now, I do know that instead of using the semi-sweet baking chocolate, I use chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips. Why bother? Yeah, this seems easier. So it says mix flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and spices until well blended. Okay, so again, I use my sifter. I need 2 cups of flour, half a teaspoon baking soda. My measuring teaspoons are still wet because I washed them out after my last adventure. So there's the baking powder. Oh, so 2 teaspoons baking powder. So that was a half. That's 1, 1.5, and 2. And then a half a teaspoon baking soda. This is the baking soda. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. The only salt that I have is pink Himalayan salt. I find that it really doesn't affect the color of the cookies, so I just use it. It's 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Now I find that 1 teaspoon, I like to use 1.5 teaspoons. I like my bread nice and cinnamony. And then half a teaspoon nutmeg. Now I get whole nutmegs, and then I use this. So I don't really measure. It says half a teaspoon. I just put it in there until it looks good. And then we're going to sift that all together. Okay, the camera went off. I have added pumpkin, sugar, eggs, and now I'm about to add my brown sugar. Oops, sorry about that. Half a cup of brown sugar. And half a cup of milk. And 1/4 cup of oil, and mix and beat until well mixed. Okay, I think we have solved the battery issue. Okay, so we have mixed up in here our pumpkin, our sugar, brown sugar, milk, and vegetable oil. Now we need to add to this the dry ingredients. Stir until just moistened. Okay, and now is when you add the chocolate. The original recipe calls for 6 squares of semi-sweet chocolate. I add about half a cup of chocolate chips. And it doesn't have a whole lot of chocolate because we don't like a whole lot of chocolate in ours. Now I use one of these to scoop it out. I find 2 scoops and each one does a really good job. I put these, it says for the loaf pan, it says 55 minutes. I put these in the oven and I start checking them with a toothpick at about 25 minutes. It goes in a 350 oven. Well, thank you so much for joining me in the kitchen today. It was a lot of fun baking these red velvet thumbprint with cream cheese, and of course the pumpkin bread, which is still in the oven, but I will include some photos of it at the end. This is day 7 of Vlogmas, which means there are 18, which is about 2.5 weeks of great content to go. Lots of Disney content. And so if you like what you saw, or the other Disney content, or the other my She Shed updates we're going to have more of. We're going to have some more great unboxings. You never know what's gonna... I might even make some more Minnie Mouse ears. You never know. Subscribe below so you don't miss a thing. And check out everybody else's great Vlogmas content. Until next time, go out there and do something great and have a magical day. Bye. These are wonderful. I'll put a link to the recipe below. You need to try these. These are wonderful.